The war between the union of stellar species and the Outer Dominion had raged for 13 years. 13 long, burning years of shattered planets, dead colonies, and silent, drifting hulks where once there had been laughter and commerce. When the war finally ended, it wasn't because of politics or power. It was because of a man. Captain Elias Grant, a human soldier from Earth's Expeditionary Corps, had done the impossible. He'd led a desperate assault through the Dominion's defensive lines, fought his way across 3 moons, and finally captured the Dominion's warlord alive. Every broadcast in the galaxy replayed the same image: a bloodied human standing before a fallen tyrant, his armor cracked, his eyes hollow. The peace treaty that followed bore his name, the Grant Accords. And as peace ceremonies began across the stars, one planet in particular, the Dominion capital Veyra, chose to honor the human soldier in its own way. Elias didn't know what to expect when he stepped off the shuttle. The air shimmered purple, the sky brushed with gold. Veyra was beautiful, alive, and heavy with alien scents. Soldiers saluted. Civilians bowed. And in the great crystal hall, the Council of Queens awaited him. They were 3, each the ruler of her respective world, united only after the war's end. Their names echoed like poetry through the galaxy. Veyra of the Flame Clans, Nyri of the Frozen Shores, and Selara of the Dreaming Winds. Together they were both feared and revered, warrior, strategist, and mystic. When Elias knelt before them, he expected a medal, perhaps an honorary title. What he received instead silenced the hall. "Captain Elias Grant," said Queen Veyra, her voice a low, burning ember, "by the ancient laws of our people, a savior of our kind must be rewarded in the highest form of gratitude. You are to be granted one of the royal heirs as bondmate." The chamber rippled with gasps. Elias blinked, unsure if the translator was malfunctioning. "You mean marriage," he said finally. Nyri's icy composure didn't falter. "Marriage. Life bond. Soul link. The word changes, but the meaning remains. You will choose one of us to join your lineage, uniting your world with ours." Elias opened his mouth, then closed it again. The crowd around them bowed their heads, awaiting his choice. He'd survived fire and war. But nothing had prepared him for this. Middle, 3 queens and 1 human heart. They gave him 7 days. 7 days to understand the customs, to meet the 3 queens, and to decide which one he would take as his bondmate. The entire galaxy watched. News channels broadcasted every meal, every appearance, every interaction. To many, it was the story of the century, the human hero who will unite the Dominion. Elias, however, wasn't thinking of diplomacy or fame. He was thinking about the hundreds of lives lost under his command, the homes destroyed, and the quiet guilt that never left his bones. Still, duty demanded he meet them all. And so he did. Day 1. Queen Veyra of the Flame Clans. Veyra's palace sat atop an active volcano. The air shimmered with heat. The walls pulsed faintly with molten energy. She greeted him not with words, but with a duel. "You claim to be a warrior," she said, tossing him a training spear. "Show me." Elias laughed despite himself. "You're serious." Her grin was sharp and beautiful. "Always." They fought beneath the burning skies, the ground trembling beneath their feet. She moved like fire incarnate, graceful, dangerous, alive. By the end, both were panting, drenched in sweat and respect. "You have strength, human," she said, "and scars that speak of pain. I value both." As he left her domain, she called after him. "If you choose me, know this, I do not share. My bondmate stands with me or not at all." Day 3. Queen Nyri of the frozen shores. Nyri ruled the northern oceans of Thalvara, a realm of ice and endless auroras. Her people revered silence, discipline, and precision. When Elias arrived, she stood on a balcony overlooking frozen waves. "You ended the war," she said without turning. "But you carry it still." Elias nodded quietly. "I suppose peace doesn't erase memory." She looked at him then, her silver eyes calm and unreadable. "You understand loss. My people understand endurance. That makes you compatible." They spoke for hours about leadership, about sacrifice. Nyri's voice was steady, but her loneliness bled through the cracks. Elias felt drawn to her serenity, but something held him back. As he departed, she said softly, "If you choose me, I will expect loyalty above all. Love may come later." Day 5. Queen Selara of the Dreaming Winds. Selara's palace was unlike the others. It floated in the sky, surrounded by songbirds and light. Where Veyra was fire and Nyri was ice, Selara was something else entirely. Gentle, enigmatic, and deeply wise. She greeted Elias barefoot, smiling as though she had known him forever. "You don't belong among warriors," she said, leading him to a garden filled with luminous flowers. "You belong among healers." Her words hit him harder than he expected. "Healers?" She nodded. "You carry wounds that don't bleed. My people can see them." They spent the day walking among floating lanterns. Selara spoke of dreams, forgiveness, and the souls of the dead who lingered. She didn't speak of duty or power or control, only understanding. When he left, she said quietly, "If you choose me, I will not own you. But I will see you, even when you cannot see yourself." The 7th day, the choice. The galaxy waited. Every channel, every species tuned in. It was more than a political event. It was a cultural reckoning. The Dominion wanted unity. The humans wanted peace. And Elias Grant stood at the center of both. He was led into the Grand Hall, where the 3 queens stood side by side, radiant and expectant. The council speaker's voice boomed. By the law of Thalvara, the savior of the Dominion must choose his eternal bondmate. "Speak your choice, Captain Elias Grant." The crowd hushed. The cameras turned. Elias took a slow breath. He looked at Veyra, strong, fierce, loyal. At Nyri, cold, wise, patient. Selara, kind, mysterious, free. Each represented something he had lost, or perhaps something he needed. But as he opened his mouth, he didn't speak any of their names. "With respect, I cannot choose one," he said. "For each of you has shown me a part of what it means to live again." The hall trembled with whispers. The speaker frowned. "You must choose, human. It is the law." Elias's voice rose, steady and clear. "No. I fought a war that divided species. I will not begin a peace that divides hearts. You each gave me something: fire, endurance, compassion. To choose one would dishonor the others. So I choose all 3, not as brides, not as property, but as equals. As friends, allies, and companions in peace." The silence that followed was heavy as gravity. Then Veyra laughed, a deep, defiant laugh. "You defy our law, human." Nyri's lips curved faintly. "Or perhaps you've rewritten it." Selara stepped forward, eyes shimmering. "A union not of possession, but of understanding. The kind of bond our world has never known." The 3 queens exchanged glances, and something passed between them. "Then so it shall be," Selara said. "Let it be written that the human has chosen not one heart, but all hearts." And just like that, the law of Thalvara changed. The crowd erupted in disbelief. then awe. Across the stars, headlines flared. The human who refused to choose. The soldier who united 3 queens. Ending the legend of the human who united hearts. Months passed. The war faded into memory, replaced by new trade routes, shared councils, and fragile peace. Elias stayed on Thalvara, not as a husband but as a bridge between worlds. Veyra taught him to fight with purpose. Nyri taught him to lead without pride. Selara taught him to heal without fear. Together, they built something the galaxy had never seen before. A triumvirate alliance, ruled not by dominance, but by understanding. When the Galactic Assembly met 1 year later, it was Elias who stood beside the 3 queens as they signed the new Charter of Unity, an agreement that outlawed interspecies slavery, opened shared education programs, and dismantled the old barriers between the Dominion and the Union. Reporters asked him afterward, "Why did you risk everything for this choice?" Elias only smiled. "Because peace doesn't come from choosing sides. It comes from refusing to divide them." That night, as the celebration raged across the planet, Elias stood on a balcony overlooking the stars. The 3 queens joined him, silent and content. Veyra leaned on the railing, her armor gleaming. "You know, human, you're lucky our people see your choice as wisdom. A century ago, you'd have been executed." Elias chuckled. "Then it's a good thing I was born now." Nyri's lips curved faintly. "History will remember this day." Selara looked up at the stars, her voice soft. "Not as the day one man was honored, but as the day hearts chose unity over pride." The wind carried their laughter into the night. And across the galaxy, in countless homes and colonies, a story spread. A legend of the human soldier who refused to choose love as a possession, and instead forged love as a bridge between worlds. Generations later, children would read of Elias Grant, the man who stood before 3 queens and said,